Hey there! In this video, I'll tell you how to replace the front springs using my Audi A6 C5 as an example. I had a mishap where the front spring of the shock absorber strut in my car snapped. As you can see, the car's clearance has decreased, and if you look under the wheel arch, you can see that the spring is broken. By the way, in these cars, the front suspension is multi-link. According to the diagram, it's evident that we'll need to unscrew two upper control arms, remove the top bolt, unscrew the bracket under the hood, and from below, unscrew the bolt, attaching the shock absorber to the lower control arm. Then, we can remove the strut to replace the spring. And now, let's do it. We'll be changing the front springs on both the left and right sides. To do this, we remove the wheel, place the car on a secure jack stand, and start disassembling the suspension. So, after removing the wheel and jacking up the car, we can inspect the spring. As you can see, it's broken and its condition is terrible. Next, we need to remove the entire strut. To do this, we unscrew the bolt in the steering knuckle, which attaches the two upper control arms. Simply take it out and remove the arms. Then, unscrew one bolt here, attaching the shock absorber to the lower control arm. After that, under the hood, we'll need to unscrew 3 bolts to detach the upper bracket from the body, and then we can remove the entire strut. The biggest problem is the long bolt, which tends to get stuck, and you won't be able to remove it without drilling. So, for loosening the steering knuckle bolt, my advice is to clean these slots where the control arms go. I've cleaned them, and I've generously applied WD-40 here. This is to ensure that the solution reaches the bolt and dissolves the rust. After cleaning everything, I started turning the bolt and continued applying a special solution. Then, with strong blows, we dislodge it. Afterward, unscrew the lower shock absorber bolt. To be honest, it took a while to unscrew the lower shock absorber bolt because it gets clamped. So, it wouldn't hurt to loosen the stabilizer bar or somehow press down the lower control arm. While working from below, we rotated the strut and moved it closer to the CV joint to make it easier to reach the shock absorber with the spring. Just be careful not to damage the CV joint boot. We've removed the long bolt from the top, and now we need to take out 2 levers. Suspension levers can rust and become difficult to remove, so to avoid hitting them directly, there are holes here through which you can use extensions to knock out the levers. I used a wrench from the toolkit. I tapped gently from below with a hammer, and everything comes out easily. After removing the upper levers, open the hood, where you need to remove the plastic shield and locate 3 bolts securing the bracket. Here's 1 bolt, here's the second, and here's the third. From the top under the hood, we've unscrewed the bolts of the strut. The suspension levers are disconnected, and everything is detached from below as well. Now, carefully take and pull the shock absorber strut outward, and then we'll proceed to disassemble it. So, we've removed the strut. Now, look at the condition of the spring. I didn't know how long I had been driving like this until I discovered the issue. I want to draw attention to the 11-degree angle. That's how the upper bracket is installed. If you look at the parallel strut, the upper bracket should be slightly offset at an 11-degree angle. In simpler terms, when disassembling the shock absorber according to the instructions, all these details are described. Many people, when assembling the strut, don't bother with these angles and rotate the shock absorber fork when attaching it to the lower suspension arm. If you're disassembling the strut for the first time, it's better to mark everything and assemble it in the same sequence. Now, let's unscrew the 2 nuts and remove the bracket. If necessary, you can replace these suspension arms right away. Just keep in mind that when putting them back, the distance from the bracket to the arm should be 57 millimeters. Then, use clamps, compress the spring, and unscrew the nut here with an 18 millimeter socket, holding it with a hex key. Now, let's disassemble the shock absorber. I removed the spring. Honestly, it was challenging because it's broken. I secured the lower part of the spring with a string and the rest of the coils with special clamps. Then, I unscrewed the nut, removed the upper support, took out the washer, the plate, the bumper, the lower plate, And finally, the shock absorber itself. After that, you can take the new spring. I decided to use this brand. This is how the new spring looks. Next, I compress it with clamps. In the end, I managed to compress the spring with 4 clamps, and for safety, I tied the coils with a string. Only after these maneuvers could I thread the upper nut onto the shock absorber. Next, I remove the clamps, put on the supporting bracket, and reinstall the shock absorber back on the car. This is how the strut looks with the replaced spring. By the way, pay attention to ensure that the spring coils are in the extreme positions of the upper and lower plates. I installed the strut back on the car, and as you can see, the car's clearance has increased, which is a reason to be happy. As you can understand, there's nothing complicated in replacing springs, and anyone can do it themselves. Until next time.